This is Joe Stewart, Vice President of Governmental Affairs, the Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina. We're very fortunate to have with us today Mike Causey, the incumbent Insurance Commissioner in North Carolina, the Republican nominee for that office in the 2024 elections. Commissioner, we appreciate you taking time to be with us today.
Well, thank you, Joe. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, as a starting point, most folks may already know you and your background and experience, but want to give you a chance as the candidate for this office. Tell us a little bit about what you bring to the candidacy for Insurance Commissioner.
Well, I'm a North Carolina native. I'm a fifth-generation farmer from rural North Carolina, Guilford County, southeast Guilford County. I grew up and still live in the Alamance community of Guilford County, and we depend on the volunteer fire departments. And I grew up on a dirt road produce farm, so I grew up around cattle and horses and mules and tractors and just hard work, baling hay, gathering produce, all of that. I went to the public school, studied engineering, became a field engineer. I'm an Army veteran. Served overseas in the United States Army as military police. I also played in the Army band. Tell people I had a well-rounded military experience. I served in the North Carolina National Guard, played in the National Guard band out of Raleigh, and also played in the Army Reserve Band out of Charlotte, and played in some dance bands for about 10 years, in big band music. And I got recruited into the insurance business when I was a student in engineering in Charlotte, and that was with Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And I ended up making a career out of insurance, and Metropolitan encouraged all of their sales agents to get involved with local politics, civic clubs, and that's what I did. And I ended up running for office. And I tell people, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And it's been my pleasure to serve for the past 8 years as your insurance commissioner.
Well, as you know, since the primary elections have come and gone, you're the nominee for the Republican Party for this election, and you've been out on the campaign trail. Sort of curious, what are you hearing from voters as you meet with folks, maybe with agents or representatives of the carrier community? What are the key issues the voters in this election are focused on for the insurance commissioner's race?
Well, I've been focused every day on doing my job. We've traveled the state a lot with the Department of Insurance, working with law enforcement, working with insurance agents. And the one thing that I hear every day from both the agents and their policyholders is about homeowners insurance, the hard market that we have in North Carolina. And I know I got a call from one of your members the other day asking for my help in finding companies willing to write homeowners. And we were able to identify 3 companies that would be willing to take on new agents to write homeowners insurance. And we're doing everything we can at the Department of Insurance to recruit new companies to North Carolina. And we certainly need more companies willing to write homeowners in all 100 counties. But from the homeowners and the policyholder standpoint, it's availability and price. It's why do the premiums keep going up, and up? And so those are some of the issues I hear about.
Well, certainly the hard market conditions that we currently find the insurance marketplace in being driven in large part by macroeconomic factors, the inflationary pressure on goods and services, and certainly the tightening of capital markets around the world, what makes it more difficult for carriers to get reinsurance, and just the significant number of increased incidences of catastrophic loss from natural disasters. Those sorts of things are beyond anyone's control, really. As I talk to my counterparts in other states where they are experiencing availability issues, it makes us seem by comparison a slightly better position in North Carolina. Still not much consolation to the policyholder when they see those premium increases. But from your standpoint, in considering that we're probably going to face hard market conditions, at least for another year or so. What things do you think as insurance commissioner can be done, should be done to try to address this challenge here in North Carolina?
Well, it's like you said, we are certainly in better shape than our neighboring states. We have some of the lowest homeowners insurance rates in the Southeast. And like you say, it's no consolation to somebody that feels like they're overpaying for their homeowners insurance. But one thing I've talked about repeatedly is a program that we started when I took office in 2017, working with the Joint Underwriters Association. We got established the fortified roof program, and that has been very successful. The legislature, I want to thank the legislature for getting us started with that, with the grant money that they initiated in 2017. It started out as $6,000 grants. It was later increased to $10,000 grants. And as of this week, the numbers that I have show North Carolina one of the leading states in the fortified roof grant program. We have nearly 12,000 homes. I think the number I saw was 11,985, but it's knocking on the door of 12,000 fortified roofs. And we have seen evidence after the storm, whether it's hurricanes or tornadoes or other major wind events, these homes that are built more resilient to the fortified roof standards can withstand those powerful winds. They're unscathed while the homes next door may be destroyed either totally or partially. And I think we need to strengthen our building codes and listen. The legislature needs to listen to all sides when it comes to the building code issues, because we're going in the wrong direction nationally. We were going in the right direction for a number of years, and I thought in 2017 that was really helping, and we got up to number 5 in the nation, but we've since dropped to 8th place in the nation. And I point to the state of Alabama, where years ago their legislature, man, that they put in legislation into their building codes. They implemented in their building codes a requirement for every home built in the coastal counties, requiring the fortified roof standards, more resiliency. And they now have over 50,000 homes in the coastal counties of Alabama built to those more resilient standards. Now, they still only have a little over 7,000 from the fortified grant program. So we actually beat them when it comes to the grant program. But their legislature helped change the building code. And as a result, you see Alabama with some of the lowest coastal homeowners insurance rates in the nation. And I think we have got to look at that as a state to make our building codes more tougher. And we've got to have safety as a paramount part of it. We've got to listen to the fire marshals, to the local folks. And we also, as a country, we've got to get inflation under control. And you're not going to get inflation under control unless you become an energy independent nation. So we need to have lower energy costs. We need to not be forcing people into this green energy. It certainly needs to be a choice, but it shouldn't be forced on anybody. And I think by getting our economy on the right track and these other things, we'll see a big improvement in insurance all across the state and nation.
We've remained a relatively robust marketplace in terms of carriers offering various lines of coverage in the state, and that remains true. Is there more, as the regulator of the insurance industry side of this as well, more you would want to see done, or things you'd want the legislature to do to make sure we retain a robust community of carriers willing to insure property?
Yeah, I mean, they've spent a lot of time looking at the automobile insurance and the facility and that sort of thing. And we're one of the best in the nation when it comes to automobile insurance. And we have some of the lowest cost of automobile. You know, what needs to be looked at are the homeowners insurance markets, and what can we do to improve that market. I'm very actively involved at the national level with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. I go to the meetings. We're involved with what's called the F Committee, which is financial oversight for any troubled companies, and we're we're all on the same page as far as insurance commissioners when it comes to state-based regulation. We think that the states are still the best way to regulate insurance as opposed to the federal government taking over. And as you know, the federal government has been inching in that direction for a long time. They have a federal office of insurance, and we've met with those folks. But since 1945, the McCarran-Ferguson Act, state-based regulation has been the way to go. And I think that is certainly where I come down, as all of my predecessors have, and we want to continue in that direction. But we also need a better communication. We need to have the legislators, and we have a number of insurance legislators, but I've seen too often where those legislators may have talked to other groups and made decisions without consulting with the Department of Insurance, without consulting with other stakeholders, and just going forward with a certain legislation. And the one thing that we all agree on is that the hands-free, keep that cell phone out of your hand. And I still can't understand for the life of me, with all the support that has with the public, it has support with the majority of the legislators, we still have not been able to get that legislation passed. And that's something I think would help a lot with our automobile insurance if we could get that going and passed.
Well, you mentioned auto insurance there. There were legislative hearings earlier in the year. Some members of the House were interested in the way the reinsurance facility worked, the residual market mechanism for vehicle liability in the state. And I think you're right. A lot of misconceptions about how that mechanism makes for a stronger marketplace in North Carolina. But in general, your observations on auto, that's certainly the one line of coverage that most consumers focus on is auto insurance. The reinsurance facility, are there any modifications or changes or different ways of doing business that you think would be beneficial in North Carolina, or any other considerations you think as a candidate for insurance commissioner, and things that you might think about doing should you be successful in November, wanting to accomplish in your next term?
But we have a lot of people, and lots of folks have told me we've got the reinsurance, the facility is overpopulated. We have too many people in there. And so I certainly think there's some room for discussion that we can take a look at it. But when the legislature hired this professor to study automobile insurance, and I'm sure it was well intentioned, but to pick a state like South Carolina as a model, even Representative Dahl, that's on the opposite side of the aisle from me, she and I were in a total agreement that we certainly don't want to be like South Carolina, because if you look at the rates, I believe it was Forbes Advisory Services had done a study in 2023 of all 50 states, and out of all types of insurance, North Carolina came in as the 5th lowest average automobile insurance rates in the nation. Only Idaho, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Ohio was lower than North Carolina. South Carolina was almost double the rates, the average rates of North Carolina. So I know we certainly wouldn't want to model after that. Maybe model after Ohio or Idaho or one of those.
Well, in general, not just with regard to auto, but anything within the context of the current regulatory or rate making system that you think might need to be looked at or evaluated or considered being done in a different way?
Well, I'm all for a free market system, but if you look at all states and the way they're operated, and we're the only one that's totally a rate bureau state. This system has worked pretty well since 1977. It has kept North Carolina with a stable and healthy insurance market. And we have certainly worked closely with the legislature, as you all have, to make changes to bring more free market principles to the rate bureau system. And that should continue. We should continue to look at ways to allow insurance companies to do things outside of the rate bureau to offer more discounts and whatever incentives they have to the policyholder. But I don't see any major changes to the rate bureau system because, as you know, the insurance companies are divided. There are some insurance companies that don't want any changes to the rate bureau, leave it exactly like it is. There's other insurance companies that want to totally abolish the rate bureau and have a totally free market. And there's other insurance companies that want some combination of those two. So I have seen things play out at the legislature, and the rate bureau wins out every time because there's more support for that. But we're doing very well, and I think we'll continue as regulators. I'll continue looking at it, and I think I go to regular meetings with the NAIC and keep up with what's happening across the country. I have a good working relationship with the other commissioners. So, and if any agent or consumer has any issue, they can bring it to me as commissioner or to the Department of Insurance, and we'll certainly take a look at it.
Well, Commissioner, as a concluding point in this presentation, you have the floor. You can make the case for why voters should vote for Mike Causey for Insurance Commissioner in 2024. It's your time to shine here.
Well, this is an important election year. I appreciate your support and your vote. I hope people will go to my website, MikeCauseyNC.com. We can use all the support we can get. If you want to volunteer to do anything, if you need any yard signs, whatever, just let us know. If the Department of Insurance can help in any way, you can send me an email. It's my name, mike.causey@ncdoi.gov. And we help people every day. And I don't play politics. I mean, we interview people, hire people, we don't ask them what their party affiliation is. So I have support from all corners of the political spectrum. But I've done a lot in my 8 years to cut the red tape, to make the department more efficient. And I do have some issues that I'm working with the legislature on to fix. And one is the Office of State Fire Marshal and the way that was taken over by the legislature. We've got to fix some of those, and I'm talking with those now. But I would ask people to please pay attention, look at the candidates, look at their background and their stands, and do your homework and vote for the right candidate. And if I can help anybody with anything, I'm here to help. The Department of Insurance is here to help. And it's just been an honor for me to serve this past year, 8 years, and I'd like to continue serving another 4 years so we can continue some of the good work that we started, but we've not yet finished.
Mike Causey, the incumbent insurance commissioner, also the Republican candidate on the 2024 ballot. Thank you, sir, for taking time to talk to the members of IIANC.
Thank you, gentlemen.